Friends and enemies, welcome back to CBP number 211. We are exactly 2 weeks away from a Canadian federal election and a CBP election night special that's really taking shape. I don't know if you noticed, but Francis committed, Mark Jeftovic committed. We're looking for maybe one or two more. I think Boomer's thrown his name in the ring. Looking to be a very promising evening, starting at 8 o'clock, going until the polls close and Mark Carney is coronated the new leader of this country.
You think that's going to happen?
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence. I was talking to my mother-in-law earlier. She's over right now just watching my daughter. And I don't trust the polling, obviously, but I just also don't trust anyone who thinks it's like a done deal going either way. I just don't think I think it's very much in flux still. Where do you come down?
I've said it last week or 2 weeks ago. I think it's going to be a Poilievre majority still, regardless of what I see in the polls or polling market. Just from what I see with boots on the ground, well, the closest I can see with boots on the ground, somebody else taking photos, because obviously I don't leave the basement. There seems to be a lot more people attending the Poilievre campaign rallies than they are the Carney rallies. Now, that may not be truly reflective of what's going to happen on election day, but I'm just going to go with that. Could be proven wrong, but I still say it's going to be a conservative majority. And that's going on a limb, right?
Yeah,
I'm not talking minority.
I know that is, but the polls are kind of firming up a little bit in favor of the conservatives these days compared to where they were last week. I don't know. There's all kinds of different reasons to think that the polling is off. Obviously, there's like the certain party voter. So there's a better way to describe that. But the people who already know who they're going to vote for sure. And then the people who, if the election was today, who would you pick? And it's a different question. And pollsters, they get data different ways as well. There's a tweet thread about this guy Polling Canada or whatever, who's a former NDP candidate, tells everything you know about the guy. But one of the ways he gets his data is by asking the campaign to ask questions at the door. So the campaigns are asking some of the questions for pollsters. That's not proper data collection. I'm not an expert in that field, but I know that that's not what you call a fair sample. So I don't know, man. I think that in either case, the election night special is going to be really good here. Like I said, some high quality people, great thinkers, and it's going to be a fun night regardless. I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens and the response from Canadians, right? Debates, obviously, this week, Wednesday and Thursday. I tweeted out today a bit about that, but we'll get into some of that maybe. Let's talk about the sponsors first here. EasyDNS is the best place for you to register a domain. Mark is your friendly neighborhood registrar. We've been working with him for the better part of 3 years now. Can you believe it, Len? It's been
That's a long time.
It's been that long, yeah. And we've used Mark's services for a number of things, obviously for the website, for the show. We use him for our bull referral code. We've used him for the blog on the website that I hastily update every week, including today. If you haven't gone to look at it, you should go check that out. And you can use Mark too. It's a great service. EasyDNS is the best place, like I said, for you to do any of this website stuff. And there's a lot of great side, adjacent features that you can take advantage of. One is domain share for a little extra on the top. It is best in silo security. And we say this with confidence. One, because we do the Access of Easy podcast for EasyDNS and talk every week about ways that if these companies, these, industries had domain share as part of their registrar suite of services, they wouldn't be getting owned by, black hat hacking groups with poorly thought out nicknames. On top of that, Len, we talk all the time about the Bitcoin enthusiast package over there. Tons of stuff for the virtual private server enjoyer. You can do Bitcoin nodes, Nostr relays, BTC Pay servers, anything you want, man. Mark will either be able to help you himself or point you in the right direction on the EasyDNS suite of services. So go there, use the code CBP Media, get 50% off your first round of buys. Can't beat it. Who's the second sponsor?
Well, it's Bull Bitcoin, but I don't want to overlook just something with the first sponsor. People in the know, people that are in the industry that have their thumbs on the pulse of the industry, they're pointing people to EasyDNS. Yeah. And I met somebody, Sean, this past weekend, and he's in the IT field, and he recommends his customers use EasyDNS. And if he's doing that, he's just a regular guy. Look, you should be doing that too. EasyDNS is the way to go. But Bull Bitcoin, can't overlook them, and had a good time chatting with them this past weekend. It was always good to chat with the folks over there. Look, good time to buy Bitcoin. Obviously, good time to sell Bitcoin. Probably not, but you could still do that with bull Bitcoin. 85,000. I just missed it in my fucking block. It was like 85,000 or 84. It was pretty darn. What are you gonna do? You're gonna buy Bitcoin on chain, Lightning. That's the way to go. On chain is still really, really cheap. You have no excuse. Just buy your on chain and keep buying it, but also don't overlook Lightning. Eventually, we're going to need that once the fees are high, and this will come sometime in the future when I do not know. But either way, you have that with Bull Bitcoin. You can buy and sell on Lightning as well. It's a couple other things you could do with the bill service. Talked to somebody this past weekend who was using it, and this guy was paying his bills with his Bitcoin using Bull Bitcoin to facilitate that. Really cool stuff. Also with Bull Bitcoin, you can buy gift cards with your Bitcoin and you can spend that in the real world, because really you can't spend your Bitcoin right now directly in merchants. Not many merchants in Canada accept Bitcoin direct. So you have to do indirectly by buying these gift cards. Check them out. If you aren't a Bull Bitcoin user yet, use our code below or referral link. If you do that, $21 added to your account once you fund the necessary account. I think you get to put a couple $100 or something. I forget what. Either way, you get so it's not too bad. So yeah,
rock solid. I love that. Housekeeping then boost. Last week, Coin Icarus, highly regarded show, not in the meme sense, but in the actual sort of held in high regard sense. We talked a lot about Bitcoin content, some Simply Bitcoin stuff, the way that everything is fucking clickbait now. And, everyone's on this infomercial model where they're always making content but never saying anything. Len, I think that's a great way to describe it. I'm glad you said that to me one day. This week, unhypnotized BTC Heather will be on the show. Heather is like I said before, she's sort of beyond my expertise in basically every way. I'm not into hypnosis, nor am I into matters of the, the mind and the id, let's say. But she is, and she's someone who's into Bitcoin and talks a lot about everything from, breaking free of the shackles of your mind to, what's another example? Dating a Bitcoiner, dating as a Bitcoiner. It's going to be interesting. I'm looking forward to talking with her. She comes highly recommended by a friend of the show, Dave Bradley. And then this Friday, Len, I think live at 12 o'clock on Good Friday, I'm going to be on Pleb Underground. So that's going to be fun. Phil's invited me. I'm happy to make my debut. And so I invite you guys to check that out. Take some time off from abstaining from meat and come listen to some Bitcoin content over on Phil's channel. I see in the chat, Speakeasy Tapas Lounge. Yeah, we accept Bitcoin as a means of payment. There's a number of places that do, which is outstanding.
That's in Ottawa. I'm looking at it right now. 55 York Street, giving you a plug. Check them out.
That's free on the house. Definitely go check them out. But anyway, for housekeeping, Len, I think that's it. Next week, are you doing the interview next week? I think you are, right?
I think to next 2 weeks. I have no idea.
I gotta look.
We're fighting for space. You and I. It looks like. Yeah. This is behind the scenes. You should see the comments going on. He wants time. I want time. There's not enough of it going around.
I did ask Len to move one interview for me. I think next week is Len. Len is talking to a buddy of ours, Tuan, and then the week after that, on the 30th, I'll be talking to Millennial Moron. Who you guys know for sure from Twitter and TikTok. Very popular guy, talks about a lot of stuff, real estate, finance related, obviously Canadian as well, which is outstanding. So yeah, we got a lot of good shows coming up, and they're going to keep coming on CBP.
Boosts?
I'm ready.
Only 3, because we're having some still difficult. I got to email Oscar because somebody didn't note that they did a boost for us, a boostagram, but it didn't show up on my thing. So I still got to reach out to Oscar. Either way, the 3 that came up, Wartime, first 333 sats. And it's basically a firecracker with a fireball. That's it.
It's like
Wartime
trying to decipher hieroglyphs in this section of the show.
He does this a lot, and I love Wartime for this. He does another 333 sats, and his hands clapping. And each of the 2 were for 2 different episodes we released. It was, I think, the episode that you released on Monday, and then one on Tuesday, and then Wednesday. So the Bitcoin stories, then the notable / we can't say the word much anymore. Other type of stories. Ma Talks 123 500 sats. He said, I would love to go to a Bitcoin meetup to share and learn. Would prefer the west end of the GTA. My wife is also sick of hearing about Bitcoin. Join the club. Joey, there may be time we should do some sort of get together in the Western half. Maybe we should just go to a park and do it. You know what I mean?
I would not do it at a park. I
Why
do
not?
Want to do it. I think if we do it, we will do it at It's going to either be the Collins or Thirsty Cactus in Dundas is my preference, because that's close to my house, number one, but also because they're both pretty big and could handle 30, 40 people if we decided to do it.
I like the park. Just show up and just invade it, and that's that, and just keep going.
I don't know. We'll see. Yeah. But if there's interest in that, like, yeah, definitely, I don't know, tell us in a boost or tell me on Twitter, because I do want to do it. And Tom and Nick always give me a hard time about not doing it, and they think we should go on a cross-country tour. Maybe.
Cross-country tour?
Yeah, I don't have a lot of time these days, but it'd be cool. You know, we maybe get a bus. Can we buy the NDP bus? They'll be looking to raise some cash at the end of this election, right?
Do they own that, or they're renting that? So it makes a huge difference. I'm guessing they're renting it. Whatever. I'm not, I'm not going to do a cross-country tour. It's not going to happen this time. No. And by the time I'm ready, who knows?
You'll be doing a cross world tour. I'll have to come meet you.
I think so.
Yeah.
I really think so. Yeah. Anyways,
where should we go first here? That's all the boost. It's all the housekeeping. Only 10 minutes in. That's good. That's about 5 minutes more for Bitcoin stories than we usually have. So let's hop to it.
Let's talk about right away shitty wallets like Atomic and Exodus. Those two are not open source. Atomic is totally not open source. It's totally closed. And Exodus at least has some parts to it that is open source. Either way, they're both shitty in multiple reasons. One reason, I'm going to explain why they're shitty, and why I like alternatives like Sparrow and soon to be Cove. I haven't yet tried it out because it's not yet available for Android, and hopefully it will be available for Linux in not too distant future. But either way, long story short, the two programs I mentioned, I'm talking Atomic Wallet and Exodus, they have been infected with malware. And what happens is when you use it and you try to send Bitcoin, it swaps out the send address to one that belongs to a malicious actor. So they're the ones that get the Bitcoin in the end. And this is really why I like, and you should all like, something like Sparrow and Cold Card, because when you use the Cold Card to send out Bitcoin, there's a sanity check before you do the partially signed Bitcoin transaction. It shows you on the screen where it's going to, so you can confirm that it's the legitimate address. And then you sign it, and then you move the SD card over. At least that's the way I do it, because I'm old school. And then once I open my Sparrow, I put in the SD card, load it up. Again, I confirm the address where it's going to. That's the final sanity check. This gives you an opportunity to make sure that it's going to the right place. There is no interception here. I'm using a clean service. It's totally clean. That's the way to do it. So this is all the reason why you should all not fuck around and find out. When you start using stuff like Atomic Wallet, Exodus, I'm not going to say you are going to get rugged, but the potential's there, right? It's just bullshit. Like, so stay away from that. I recommend using a clean computer, something that shitty works just fine to run Sparrow, just Sparrow. Just run that, and it limits what bad could happen to you. You don't have to have that computer always hooked up to the internet. In fact, you can just turn it on as you need Sparrow, but this is the way to go. This is more of a call to action for people out there. Stay away from the shitty wallets. They are going to hurt you in the end.
Don't forget, too, that Atomic was hacked in 2023 and still hasn't really provided any updates on what the cause of that hack was or the root of that hack was. Like, that's a sin in cybersecurity, and even a greater sin in the digital cash realm here in Bitcoin. I really have a hard time understanding why people aren't using Sparrow. The only thing people don't like about Sparrow, and actually Dave and I talked about this a little bit, the UI thing, except I think we're talking about MVK's products, but Sparrow's in the same boat. Sparrow is very bare bones, looks like something out of Windows, XP era, maybe a little after that, Windows 2000 NT era, something that vintage. And it's a little bit intimidating because there are a lot of features, and it's something you can kind of get carried away with, and it doesn't look as clean as Blue Wallet or Green Wallet, but it is fully functioned. And the other thing that I think it has going for it, and some people may disagree with this, but it's got a very small dev team. So yeah, that means that updates don't come as large as they may otherwise come, or as quickly as they may otherwise come, but you also don't have problems with multiple people with their hands in the pie working on software and then leaving you exposed basically to attacks like this. This particular attack, a PDF to Office package from some other bit of software, and injects malicious code into those two wallets. Like, that's something that took time to figure out probably. And I don't really think that this is excusable, because like I said, 2023 you had a hack. Now 2025 you have a hack. I can't imagine you'd still be using these products. And like you said, that sanity check that you get when you're sending on Sparrow, huge. But also then, even back in like 2017, it was always best practice to check the last 7, 8, numerical digits of the wallet you were trying to send to, and the wallet that shows up on your device or your software, right? And so you have to really have both those addresses handy. The one that you want to send to, and it's in a separate window, the one that the wallet software wants to send to. And you have to be comparing them. I still do that today when I'm sending transactions. Doesn't everybody do that? Like I always double check the addresses.
I agree, but still, I imagine that this is not the case, and people are getting owned in the fact. I don't know if this malware masks it. It may appear it's going to the right address, and behind the scenes, it's changing it to a malicious actor. This I don't know, but come on, there's enough people out there that are just clicking stuff quickly, and they don't care. And I don't think a lot of people are checking it. Maybe the majority are, but there's going to be a few people that aren't checking to make sure the address is correct. With Bitcoin, the onus is on you. There is nobody that's going to make you whole again. You fuck up, you fuck up.
Yeah.
So that's why it's imperative to make sure you double, triple check. If you take extra time, no fucking problem. This is your money. If you lose it, it's not going to come back to you. Nobody's going to help you. So that's why I like Bitcoin, because you are ultimately responsible. This is what you need, responsibility.
Yeah, good comments in the chat. You are the bank from Mix, and then Boomer, obviously stay away from shitcoins and really stay away from shitcoin wallets. That's a good point. I just want to note that Speakeasy Tapas Lounge also saying complimentary cocktail to any CBP listeners who pay with Bitcoin. So there you go. If you're in the Ottawa
road trip,
area,
Joey, let's go for a drive.
Yeah, I'll get in the car right now. I'll see you in 10 minutes, and then we'll head down. We should be there by midnight.
You know what? And funny enough, just going into the weeds here, I've done day trips to Ottawa to watch the Leafs a few times.
Really?
Yeah, and I've done that and gone to work the next day, come back, and this is before we had the 50 over, you lose your car laws here in Ontario.
Oh boy, yeah.
Yeah, so my old car, I took it to Ottawa many, many times, and I made some record times.
I'm sure. Anyway,
Bull Bitcoin.
Stay away from these wallets. Bull Bitcoin, yeah, go.
They expanded to Mexico. I'm not sure if you saw this one. So they are now over there. You're able to convert your Mexican pesos into the hardest asset known to man. And they recently expanded also to Costa Rica. And then shortly thereafter, they launched in France and then 26 other European countries. And now they're in Mexico. So the people in Mexico can now join a mission just like you and I are part of. So not sure if people out there listening to us are in Mexico. But if you are, Bull Bitcoin is there to cover you. So check them out and you're good to go.
I think we have some Mexican listeners. It's hard for me. Like when we were talking about Bull Bitcoin early on, they were the best place for Canadians to buy and sell Bitcoin. And they still are the best place for Canadians to buy and sell Bitcoin. It's not Bitcoin Well. It's not ShakePay. Okay, you're never going to hear the guys at Bull Bitcoin talking about freedom money and freedom technology about anything besides Bitcoin. And these guys now, Len, are the best place in Europe and the best place in Mexico and the best place in Canada. And, if you look at Francis's page, he's talking about some other expansion targets as well.
Did he mention any names?
He didn't. No, he didn't. But even if you talk to him, he'll tell you that he's got a couple of places in mind. It's amazing. This is what you can achieve if you have a small-ish, focused team that's not worried about nonsense day to day. That's not worried about share price. That's not worried about Ethereum. That's not worried about anything except how do we get Bitcoin in the hands of more people? Whether it's helping people sell their house for Bitcoin, move to another jurisdiction with Bitcoin. Like these are all services that they offer, officially or unofficially. And, that people go to these guys for good reason. They the mission thing that they have where, they'll only give you a referral code if they vet
you got to pass
first.
a certain threshold.
Like,
you have to be,
it's like a purity test almost, but hey, it works. If you go to the mission Telegram chat, it's pretty lit. It's a lot of good Bitcoiners talking about a lot of things that are Bitcoin and Bitcoin adjacent, a lot of freedom talk in there. And that's really what Bitcoin's about. And to be able to get it to all these other countries is amazing. Francis has said in the past, on this show, and I think other shows as well, that the U.S. is not in the cards. But everywhere else, I get the feeling is fair game.
That's too bad because that would have then covered the whole North American sphere, right?
It's just because there's too many state by state regulators, right? It's a very, very difficult market to break into on the financial product side, I would guess. But that's just my guess.
Right? Just the thought of getting, it's so lucrative given how much money is sloshing around over there compared to other countries. So
your voice sounds so good in that mic. So deep.
Does it?
It's way deeper. Yeah, it's good. A little punch in there. I like that.
Is it sending blood to the wrong places?
What's next?
We'll talk about that in a little while. Pierre Rochard, right?
Friend of the show.
Pierre. Yeah, long resume. This guy co-founded the Satoshi Nakamoto Institute. He was part of Riot and left there not too long ago. Also part of Kraken, BitPay. Sorry. This past week, he spun up a new company called the Bitcoin Bond Company. And it's to offer Bitcoin-backed structured products to traditional credit investors. And their goal, they try to acquire $1 trillion worth of Bitcoin over the next 21 years. I assume this is going to be the equivalent of of 1 trillion in 21 years, not $1 trillion today, because that's quite a feat if you could try to get 1 trillion worth of Bitcoin in today's value. But either way, he says he's going to be targeting institutional investors with this that were scared of Bitcoin's volatility, but want credit-like returns. And also, this part I like, he's going to be providing education to these investors who have knowledge of bonds backed by real estate or corporate debt. So he's going to show them something that's a little bit different. So of note, the Bitcoin that he plans to hold on is going to be held by a third party. They're not going to self-manage the Bitcoin.
Okay, so let me ask something. But like we talked about this before, and I always say that there just isn't a good way legally to do this custody thing for some of these products. And you say, well, we got to break down the walls, blah, blah, blah. Saylor couldn't do it. He may not have been the best guy. Pierre is for sure the best guy. His wife is an accountant, CFA or whatever. He's worked with Kraken, worked with a number of different companies, as you mentioned. Like, if he couldn't do it, are you willing to at least move a little bit from your position that this might not be feasible for the time being?
There are companies that already do it, large companies that already do it. Why can't we follow suit with them?
What large companies are doing it?
Tesla. I have done all the research I have done with Tesla. I have not found any information show that they have a third party custodying their Bitcoin.
They are for sure using a third party.
Find it for me and prove me wrong, because I have not found it. So based off that, this is a very large company, heavily traded, and to the best of my knowledge, again, prove me wrong, they're holding their own corn. So if they could do this, why can't anybody else do this? And so I'm not going to use them as the shine of everything, but for this, they're doing it. So it's not like, companies don't do this. Companies are publicly traded. This is one of the largest companies in the fucking world that's doing this. SpaceX is not publicly traded. No. So that's they may be holding on to it. That's fine and dandy. But the one that I want to see is a publicly traded company that's fucking large that does this. Tesla checks those boxes, right? So can't find it, right? Like I've dug as far as I could, and I couldn't find shit. So if Pierre's not doing it, I'd like to know why Pierre's not doing it. Because others are doing it.
Maybe I'll just invite him on the show or something. Yeah, see if he wants to come on talk about it.
I'd love to know the answer to that.
Yeah, I like the idea anyway. Pierre is a guy who's like been jumping from company to company for the last minimum 5 or 6 years, and he's an important voice in the Bitcoin space. Not just on the professional side, though. Obviously, he does wear a suit better than most Bitcoiners, and I'm not afraid to say that. He also is one of the most important voices in the podcast space. Noted is like an unbelievable, legendary OG podcast from the early era of Bitcoin podcasts with Michael Goldstein, Bitstein, and Pierre. Now they're running a podcast called The Reorg. I don't know if you've heard that one, Lem, where they review old stuff that the Nakamoto Institute has published and sort of talk about, how those ideas and theses developed over time and where they got stuff wrong and where they got stuff right. It's a great show. And Pierre is like legendary Bitcoiner. He came on this show first time we asked him and was a fantastic guest. I was still kind of finding my footing as an interviewer back then. It was a few years ago now. And I really thought that he provided a lot of thoughtful answers to questions that maybe weren't fully fleshed out. And he's just a guy who gets it. He's an outstanding Bitcoin communicator. as people say. And he's in my top 5 sort of voices in Bitcoin, I think. And I'm looking forward to seeing what this company does. He's obviously been thinking about this for some time, and I wish him all the best. I wish him all the best. By the way, Tesla's Bitcoin held in custody by Coinbase Prime. So
show me where does that? Because I've checked.
I just used AI and searched, and it just says
give me some legitimate
analysis indicates that Tesla's Bitcoin is held in custody at Coinbase Prime. It's from Forbes. It's from Forbes.
Okay, Forbes. That's a very reputable place.
Or FX Street or Forbes. That's all I got.
FX Street is probably a little bit better, but everything I've checked, nada. So until I see, and I looked at everything and I could not find a single fucking thing. Either way, this is looking like it's another way. I'm talking about Pierre's initiative here to try to get as much, like, wring as much money out of Bitcoin as possible, right? Like offering a fiat-like type offering. It's almost in a way. Do you remember we were talking about Adam Back?
Yeah.
And his initiative, like, it's almost like this is. I think you pointed out this is the way things are probably going to be moving. There's no way to really monetize Bitcoin any further than what we have right now. So they have to go to some other thing, for better, for worse. I mean, whatever. I kind of wish we had stuff that's more Bitcoin related. I mean, this is Bitcoin related, but it's still very much fiat. So
I think this is I'm more and more asking questions about, like, are things net positive or net negative, right? Are they 1 or 0 on this sort of spectrum of good or bad for Bitcoin? This is a 1. I think it's a 1. And you can imagine, we have to speculate sometimes, but is owning Coinbase stock a top of the funnel moment? Is owning the Bitcoin ETF IBIT a top of the funnel moment? And I think the biggest issue is that it's hard to say for sure, because you just don't know who people are talking to when they talk to Fidelity or when they talk to, Coinbase support or whatever. What are those people talking about when it comes to Bitcoin? But I know what Pierre is going to be talking about when it comes to Bitcoin and when these people ask him about Bitcoin. And I'm confident that this is going to be a really strong top of funnel for a lot of institutional players if he's successful. And so I want him to be successful. I think this is nice.
And of those, how many are going to look at Bitcoin and say, "Oh, this is something I'm going to buy and hold"? I mean,
I think a lot. If Pierre gets you in a room, the likelihood that you leave that room and don't have Bitcoin on your mind and don't want to buy some, it's got to be among the lowest possible.
I think what he's trying to target is people that are just looking for a different type of yield, a different type of, like, in putting your money on something and getting something more out of return, and people that are bond related and shit like that. And those people are they going to end up becoming hard asset Bitcoin enthusiasts? I
don't know.
I secure my own keys, shit like that.
I mean, if they made it to the bond thing, then presumably they get the value.
Like,
prop,
you know what?
And Pierre
I kind of look at this.
Top. Yeah, go ahead.
It's kind of similar to what, like, Sailor's selling with his
Strike.
What's
or
that?
Whatever.
So, yes,
that's Strife. What is it?
Strike. Whatever the fuck it is. It's kind of like that, right? Like, for people who are buying that, like, why are they buying it? Are they, I'm a fucking Bitcoiner, I want to hold my own keys, or I just want to get some 8% yield on, I think it's the 8% crowd.
I don't know.
More than anything.
The 8%ers. We gotta find and eliminate the 8%ers ASAP.
Yeah, well, they want to ensure that they're beating inflation at 7.5%. So that 0.5% that they're getting, they're laughing, right?
That's valid. I think that is a valid point, and I think these guys are really thinking about this more and more. So I don't know. Like, I love Pierre. I love the idea. I am always skeptical of these things working long term, because it's always a tricky thing to play against the fiat kings and queens, right? They're always changing the rules, and this is the thing about these financial tools, that you're exposed to those rules more than you are if you just hold the core asset. And I think people are going to slowly start to realize that, if they haven't already. I think a lot of people have, but there's still a number of people who haven't, and I think they're going to.
Well, and we'll go on a little bit of a tangent here. In the past week and change, the price of Bitcoin and the markets as a whole, there was a lot of volatility, right? And with respect to that, and I don't want to know how much Bitcoin you have or how much equities you have, but did you really care? Did you lose any sleep?
No.
Was it just
the only time I really paid attention to the price with intent was when I was looking to make a buy.
Okay.
And like, but like, no, do I care about the price on the downside? No,
Yeah.
I don't.
See,
There is a number where I would care, I'm sure, but it's not anywhere near where it is now.
I don't even know what that number would be for me, to be honest,
Yeah.
to care. I would care if I was in a different state. If I was heavily into stocks, if I was heavily into bonds, and
Yeah.
I was a retiree, I had very little to no exposure to Bitcoin. I would be sweating it out almost when I see the stock market going the way it is. But given where I am in life, I'm a little bit older, but I have a fair decent amount of exposure to corn. I could care less what happens to everything, even the price of Bitcoin. If it goes down, great. I mean, like you say, it's almost a buying opportunity. But I know it's going to go back up. It's just my mentality has changed quite a bit. And what happens, it happens. I don't really care. I can't sweat it because I can't change it. But one thing I can change is how much Bitcoin I'm going to have tomorrow. And that's really what I want to have. It's more of that tomorrow than anything else. So I just wanted to just mention that. Coinbase, though, let's talk about their ideas of monetizing shit.
My favorite stock. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you still have? You're still have you sold?
I have.
Do you want to disclose?
I have Coinbase stock still. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm not a frequent buyer of Coinbase stock, but I have Coinbase stock.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we talked about, like, I'm disclosing my financial plans on this show because you keep asking me about that. Well,
be as big as possible.
It's always the same, right? Like I don't use my TFSA nearly as much as I used to, but I am still a dollar cost average enjoyer on the equity side, though not as much as I used to be.
Still, it's been years since I added to my TFSA.
Yeah. You've been steadfast.
Fuck them. And what Coinbase is trying to do, though, they're trying to monetize on-chain advertising. On-chain advertising, Joey.
Yeah.
Right? So back in January, they bought up a company called Spindle, Spindl, and they are or were an on-chain ads and attribution platform. So they gobbled them up and got all the goodies that come along with it. And hopefully this on-chain advertising stuff they focus mainly or in totality on the shitcoin networks, and they don't migrate over to the Bitcoin network. But we saw what happened when people start spamming Bitcoin, the fees go up, and some people weren't happy. I'm going to raise my hand. And so, right, it looks like they're going to spam the networks with trash. And, they're looking to hire a senior counsel product for ad tech. And this is specifically to do with that. It's AKA a spam specialist. So if you are a spam specialist, you may want to check them out and submit your resume. They say they're probably going to integrate this into the Coinbase wallet to take advantage of advertising. And all the more reason why people should use something like Sparrow, right? Like, why would you use anything else besides Sparrow? Perhaps even Cove in your future. I can't use it right now because I'm on Android, but people on iOS, I think, could take advantage of Cove. Check it out. Either way, with respect to this on-chain advertising stuff, I think it's going to be another money pit for them. It will be in that negative for them. They could go through the list. Remember, they had Coinbase Pro not too long ago. They mothballed that. That was for professional traders and people that had experience in trading, like gone down in 2023. The NFT marketplace that came out, it was launched in April 2022. And the amount of NFTs and shit that was being traded on there was far less than what the alternatives were. Something called Coinbase Bundle. I really had to do some searching here. This is a beauty of a service that was launched back in September of 2018, and it allowed users to easily purchase a basket of top cryptocurrencies available on Coinbase. And you just do it with a single click. That was gone in July 2019. So I could go on and on, but I think I made my point here. I have nothing against them trying new things. Like, what is it? Failure is an orphan, but success has many parents. And, people need to try shit, but with this monetizing on-chain stuff, I look at this as a potential new way to spam Bitcoin. I hope to God they stay away from it because we don't need it.
You got to help me understand who's asking for this. That is the big question for me. Who is saying to themselves, I need this product, and Coinbase is the company that can deliver it for me? I don't think anybody is asking for this. So why are they doing it?
That's a great question. I don't know. Somehow through their market research, they came up with this.
On-chain everything has been a flop. On-chain NFTs, done. On-chain, you name it, it's flopped. Ordinals, NFTs, all this stuff, garbage, gone. Why would anyone want to advertise on chain? And then even worse, as you mentioned, you have to use the Coinbase wallet to see the ads, presumably.
No, I'm assuming they're going to be
you must have to. You must have to, because you certainly, Sparrow is never going to integrate a way for you to see the ads. Green Wallet and Blue Wallet are never going to integrate a way for you to see the ads. The Lightning Network is never going to integrate a way for you to see the ads. The miners are never going to integrate a way for you to see the ads. Like why? Who is asking for this, and how are they going to execute on this?
Shitcoiners.
But do they have enough? Do they have enough volume to make this a moneymaker? I can't imagine they do.
I don't know.
Shitcoiners are broke. Look at the fucking prices in the alt market. It's like it's a fucking nightmare over there. It looks like Hiroshima. Like who is going to be advertising on chain, and what are they advertising? Like, this is the other question. Why would you ever pay? Think about the way advertising works. Okay, advertising, you have to gear it toward certain people. So you use their vital information, their age, their location, their preferences, their Google searches, their Amazon history, whatever, right? You use all that and you get a targeted ad that, has a higher chance of being clicked by someone who's, 31 and likes playing basketball than it does by, some ham planet in a McDonald's parking lot waiting for her third pickup order of the day, trying to get to 8,000 calories. That's not how advertising works. Those ads, by the way, are expensive to target. So then you're going to tell me that not only are you going to have to pay for the advertising, presumably to Coinbase for use in their wallet product. Again, we're kind of speculating here, but this is the only way I can imagine this working. So you pay Coinbase to do the advertising. Then you presumably pay Coinbase for the targeted part. And then you also have to pay the on-chain fee, presumably, which is variable. So it's going to be expensive to do this and less effective. So why would anybody do this? Why would anybody advertise this way?
So after this, are you still going to hold on to your Coinbase shares?
Yeah, I'm buying more. I'm buying more. I'm buying more. I'm DCA. I'm upping the DCA. Are you kidding? This is a great good revenue coming up here. I can't wait.
So I don't know who's asking. Again, like I said earlier, there could have been some market research.
It's not even a hypothetical. Like you have to. You're hiring a position that's going to pay $250,000 a year in salary, by the way, low end. So it's got to be money. It
could be some guy
on the posting, right? So
it could be $250,000 rupees. So it could be
looks
far
like
less.
USD to me, buddy. Like I just saying here, 224 to 264 is the pay range. Target, you get equity, you get benefits. I don't know. Like, okay, again, what person who has an advertising budget is like, yeah, I'd rather advertise on chain than on Instagram.
Yeah, so you can do it on
no one's fucking saying
Instagram.
That.
You could do it on YouTube. No, I'm going to do it on
here.
fucking ETH.
I'll take your ad money. I'll charge you half of what Coinbase does. I'll wear your shirt. I'll fucking read your ad. No problem.
I know we won't read the ad. I might wear a shirt. That's as far as I go. But there's definitely no ad read. But you know what? Like I mentioned the name Ethereum. Somebody posted it on X and I fucking laughed at this.
Oh boy.
You heard of that Mantra rug pull that happened? Have you heard about this or no? So Mantra is a shit coin and it lost within a period of a short period of time, a couple hours, 90% of its fucking value dropped. And 90% in like just a few hours.
You know what they say about 90% drops, Len? There's always 90% more.
So it dropped that much in like that much. But either way, if you look at the 1-year chart of that Mantra coin, it's actually outperformed ETH. If you look at the ETH 1-year chart. Yes. So even though it dropped 90% in a fucking couple of hours, it's still outperformed.
Oh my God.
ETH.
Has anyone talked to Sean David Smith or whatever that guy's name is from Bankless? Don't tell those guys.
You know what? If you're going to talk about this, you got to change your voice to that. You got the board over there.
Oh yeah. Hold on. Let me check.
Right. Thank you. We got our
Has
shtick
anyone
now.
talked to the Bankless guys about that? Ethereum's gonna flip in. It's gonna flip in. What's the other token called again?
Mantra.
It's gonna flip in Mantra before the end of the year. We're in an Ethereum bull market.
Retarded. I can't believe this. Mantra. I've never heard of it
from
either.
the
Shitcoin scene now. Like I just don't. like the once every couple of weeks bankless listen is all the exposure I get to this stuff. And if Predator posts some receipts that I think are funny, I might read through it. But
Yeah,
generally, I'm like just completely disconnected now.
Well, Trump, let's talk about him with respect to Bitcoin, because he signed some new legislation that may positively impact privacy. And so legislation that was supposed to take an effect in 2026, just next year, would enable the IRS to force cryptocurrency brokers to provide tax information on transactions conducted on their platform. And this is a holdover from the Biden administration. So with Trump trying to position himself as a Bitcoin / crypto guy, obviously he's going against this. And the purpose of the law was supposed to limit unpaid transaction by people who owe for their trade. So people that make a trade and make gains and don't report it, they wanted to limit that. So they wanted their slice of the pie. So if you just look at that, I think this could have been used in potentially far worse ways than that as well, especially if they wanted to target Bitcoiners in the future, because then they would have direct access to this information. Yeah. And certainly however to use that information, who knows. But it's not to say that this won't happen, but either way, at least with Trump doing this move, it's a step in the right direction for people who advocate for privacy. And this move doesn't absolve you from having to pay your taxes if you do those trades. So if you are trading Bitcoin for cash and going back and forth, remember, those are all taxable events. It's up to you if you want to pay your taxes. I would advise you do so. You don't want somebody like the IRS or CRA coming after you. It could be a heavy-handed response, but you know what? You guys are all adults. Do what you want. But I like this move by Trump. And the fact he did this, though, makes me wonder, whenever there's a world without Trump, would they reverse Trump's decision and bring this back? This is more of a privacy thing for me more than anything else. And
privacy, regulation rollback. It's all in the same vein as what you've seen from Trump a lot. And there's good and bad with Trump, like any politician. But it's good. I don't think anyone would ever characterize this as not good, would they? I mean, mixers and stuff are important. They're an important part of Bitcoin. They're an important part of anonymity and privacy. I think these are great tools. I'm glad to see this.
Well, on top of that, we'll talk about mixers in specifically here, because the Department of Justice dropped some news this past week that people who develop stuff like mixing services are not liable and won't be criminally charged. And this was a memo that came out as of April 7th. So actually it came out Monday last week, but I missed it for that show. But here we are talking about it today. And the memo stated that Trump would like to end the regulatory weaponization against digital assets. And I wonder if the DOJ stance is going to change once Trump is no longer in office. But again, I digress. We just talked about that. So with this news that came out, then Phoenix immediately pivoted and said that they are making their product available back in the United States. So you could use the Google Play Store, or I'm not sure if it's on the App Store for Apple, but
it is.
Okay, it's there. But it was never really taken away, because the APK was always available for people who want to sideload. The GitHub was always accessible, regardless of where you lived in the world.
But the coordinators for the privacy stuff weren't available, right? Like that's the big problem when you're using those tools. You need a coordinating service, right? And so if it's illegal, they just shut that part of the wallet off.
Even if you're in the States, like if you were living in other parts of the world, like I'm not
question.
Sure.
I don't know. Maybe though. Yeah, Phoenix is in the App Store still. So
maybe it wasn't there. If you asked a week ago, probably wasn't there because of this move. And then Phoenix, then you're in Canada, so then again, it doesn't really impact you.
Yeah, I don't see anything here about the mixing. So maybe it was just always there for us and they never took it out. But
yeah, so it was only for people in the States that were unfortunately impacted. But like I said, the GitHub was always available. Anybody could have used it. Plus there's VPNs and shit like that, slide loading, a lot of different options. But either way, with this latest DOJ move, we have the Samurai wallet. I wonder what's going to happen to those two dudes that were charged, that were running it. I'm guessing those charges are going to be dropped. I mean, Tornado Cash founders, they had sanctions that were dropped against them on March 21st. So they had sanctions up until March 21 and no longer sanctions against the Tornado Cash folks. So all these mixing things, it looks like people are, at least the administration seems to be on board with this. Again, privacy, if you're going against it, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah,
good to have options.
Yeah, I'm completely in agreement with you. I think this is good stuff. And like I said, it's not a it's not a Trump rah moment, but this is a good move from his administration. And as I said earlier, it's in keeping with the theme that we're seeing: less red tape, less regulation. You may say that this opens up Bitcoin, crypto, whatever, to be a little too wild or a little too criminally oriented, but I disagree completely. I think we always say, what currencies does everyone use for crime, Len? It's not Bitcoin. It's the dollar. So
in cash.
Yeah,
like,
I think this is great. Exactly. This is fine. I think this is really good. And let's see. Now, the big thing is, can we take advantage of this gap in regulation and build something that's more regulatory proof? I don't know. That's something for those involved to consider, though. I would say that they're probably thinking about that quite a bit.
Well, join market is regulatory proof because everybody runs their own instance for that.
Yeah,
so it's hard.
yeah,
It's very decentralized. To go on a different topic, but kind of similar one, when you're dealing with cash, when you go to the bank, at least here in Canada, I don't know if it's applicable in the United States, but when you're withdrawing 10K or more, there's a lot of questions because of KYC or anti-money laundering. That's the one, anti-money. I'm wondering, are they going to change that to be kind of in line with inflation? Because that's been a 10K for some time, right? And 10K today is not the same 10K that it was 10 years ago. Because it's now going to be easier and easier. Like, not to say that people are just withdrawing 10K and going from there, but there's going to come a point in time in the distant future that it's going to be like 10K is going to be like what?
Do you think they're going to change it?
I don't think so, but
and why not?
It's obviously it's beneficial for capturing what. But when you're feeling
over, that's all.
But when you're pushing like a cart of groceries from Costco, and it's easily over 1,000.
Yeah.
Right now, if we 10x that,
yeah,
it seems like it's a heck of a lot. But then it's like you're just going for groceries, and
what would make this way easier?
Bitcoin,
CBDC. And that's what you're going to see. That is what you're going to see. You're going to see that as part of the regulatory framework around CBDCs. In our Discord, there was some pretty spirited discussion about CBDCs earlier in the week. I kind of caught part of it.
Are you on the fence that CBDCs are imminent, or
yeah, I think they're
on
close.
A retail side?
I mean, you think they're further than me, and actually Mark thinks they're further than me too. And you guys are really my barometer for these sorts of things. But
on retail,
I think they're close. I do think they're close. Yeah.
Yeah. For whatever reason,
and people who are like, well, it's not as bad as you might think, or CBDCs are far away, or you don't have to worry about your money being taken in a CBDC. I would just point you to this story in the UK. I'm pretty sure we talked about it. This guy misgendered somebody in a classroom or something, and the UK government drained his bank account or locked access to his funds. Like, the CBDC thing is a nice tag, and it's a bit of a distraction from what's actually going on, that the majority, if not the entirety of your nest egg is digitally available to you and to the powers that be. And if you step out of line, you will have a problem. The thing is that line is getting closer and closer all the time, and it's hard to see sometimes, and the penalty is just as stiff. Mm-hmm. And so
it's an easy sell.
To people who say stuff like it's conspiratorial, I think you're wrong, honestly. And I think it's a sign that you're, either too clever by a half and thinking, the tech is not going to work, or, the government would never do this. Like, it's really simple, honestly, to do.
I can't see why a government wouldn't want to do it. It gives them way more control over funds. Is it one of the selling points?
Like we talked about, governments are starving for tax receipts. It's honestly a no-brainer, right? It's a complete no-brainer.
Could you imagine, the selling point? You could say, look, people out there that are engaging in the sale of drugs, guns, shit like that, you're using cash. We could eliminate that.
This is a great fucking quote from Boomer. A bank account is a 203 multi-sig between you, the bank, and the government. It's just so true. It is like, you should be like, NVK should honestly etch that into cold cards, because that is truly what you're up against when you're using digital currencies, and that includes your debit card, by the way.
Anything that is centralized, not decentralized. That's what you're dealing with, because you're dealing with one or a few entities that have the ability to control something. And with the CBDC, you're talking a node of one. It's right. Like, let's be honest. And that's what makes Bitcoin so unique and so compelling to a lot of folks, is that, you can run your own node with very little input whatsoever. And you can't say the same about a lot of other things. And like I was trying to say, it's easy to sell that to the normies out there. Like these people, they're exchanging cash, buying these illegal stuff. We could put an end to that. Furthermore, people that should be paying their taxes, just selling stuff on Craigslist or selling stuff on whatever, and doing this a lot. We should be capturing those tax receipts, right? They should be paying their fair share of taxes. Yeah, I want them to pay their taxes, blah, blah, blah. And then it comes in and then,
how
at that
many
point
times
it's too
have
late.
we talked about this, Len, that there's like a growing number of have-nots who are like sort of finding themselves more and more, like they're feeling more and more hopeless. They will vote against your interests all the time. And your interests eventually are going to be, we have reason to believe people are not paying their taxes and you're missing out on services because of that. And this is why like the WEF thing and the whole like Davos crowd thing everyone talks about and carbon taxes to protect the climate, like these things are all just veiled attempts at increasing tax receipts at the end of the day. And you know that it's not going to be a huge tax, I don't think, in any of these cases, but it will be something that's going to affect the way you think about spending and affect the way you think about money and affect the way that you're able to live. And at the end of the day, that's important. And you know, CBDCs, it's not that everyone is trying to evade taxes. It's that as taxes become more domineering, people will push back and find ways around them because they're just not just. And this prevents those instances from really taking root. And I think that's what this whole thing is about. You know, it's not hard to figure that out. Now, the question for Canada on CBDCs is, you know, if they start checking Joey and Len's, you know, income and expenditures for tax receipts, well, then they have to start checking Mr. Chan and Mr. Singh as well. And they don't really want to for a number of reasons, right? So that's a problem that they're going to have to solve. But it's basically, I think, the only thing standing between, hey, you tell me, right? Everyone talks about how there's no link between CRA and mortgage verification. And presumably that's not that hard to do. The only reason they don't do it is because, I mean, either it's just corruption or they need those dollars to keep coming into housing. And so like there's really no other way to navigate that without one of those two possibilities being a reality. And so if they do go to CBDCs, you have to reconcile that difference somehow. I'm not sure how they do it, but it's just something to keep in mind. It's just something to keep in mind is all. That's all I'm saying.
And really, what can you do about it? We have to live within this environment right now. I mean, I can speak for myself. I don't want to speak for everybody out there, but I get paid every 2 weeks and it goes right to my bank account. I can't get it to me paid in cash. I have to live within this fiat environment. Although I could pull out whatever I can and buy Bitcoin with it, but that goes to the point I'm trying to make is that's really the one way you can protect yourself from it. And when, you know, I'm preaching to the choir for the most part here, but anyone that doesn't understand with Bitcoin, there's no entity on earth. There's no one individual. There's nobody that can stop me from sending my Bitcoin to whoever I want. If I want to send you my Bitcoin, Joey, and I broadcast it, that Bitcoin, as long as it's the miner's going to pick it up next, it will go through. Nobody can stop that. That's it. It's done. And it goes through my node, and that's so beautiful. And that takes away a lot of the power of weaponization of money because now I have the power of using it. Yeah. I can't weaponize it, but it can't be weaponized.
That's right.
So it's just really a medium of exchange.
What does Lowry say? Infinitely defensible, right? The asset that's infinitely defensible.
Have you read his book?
I haven't read Software. All the stupid group chats I'm in, people either love it or hate it. It's like extremely polarizing. I did buy a book by a National Post columnist whose name I forget now called Don't Be Canada. It's a book about how we basically adopted all the worst policies all at once over the last 10 years or so. I got to read it. It's very short, but I think I'm going to enjoy it.
Get the audiobook.
Nah, I got to read more. I have to get out of this like screen dopamine thing. I'm finding that with
the audiobook you don't need. There's no screen time. It's just whatever you're doing.
But like there's
driving a car.
Reading, here's the thing, okay? There's good data around retention of information when you read or write compared to when you watch or listen. And reading and writing always ends up with more retention than watching and listening. You can imagine why. You know, when you're writing something out as opposed to typing it even, there's also data about that. Like typing something and writing something, just not even close in terms of data retention. And I have to get back into that habit. I'm so bad.
I can still recall stuff I wrote in for my notes for university.
Yeah, when you write it down, it stays with you. Yeah,
I 100% agree. But just given time constraints, now you're a new father, right? So you can understand the value of trying to maximize your time by trying to listen to an audiobook here and there. But either way, Joey, let's transition to the rest of the news. I think it's
transitioning. We love that. Let's do it. We're going over to the notable.
Hey, before we do, don't you want to make any comment about the background, that beautiful background? I mean,
I'll take ourselves out here.
Okay,
wait a minute. I won't be able to talk, but you guys can look at the background.
No, take me off. I don't go.
That's going to mess up the audio too, because now it's going to give me another file for this. Fuck, that
Oh,
was stupid. I should have.
Motherfucker.
Yeah, whatever. It's okay. Yeah, I made that in Grok. It took me a little prompting, but I'm getting better at that. Anyway, come back if you're on audio, and if you're on video, stay tuned. If you're on Twitter, YouTube, whatever, you're live with us. We're not going anywhere. You know what's next. So hang in and take care of yourselves otherwise.
And don't be a mantra cuck.